You are so powerful. I need you to understand how powerful you are and how beautiful and how strong and how vibrant, everything. Like, you are it. Hey guys, so I'm back. Where have I been? Listen, 2019 was a crazy year for me. And we're not even going to talk about 2020 so far, but look, I had a lot going on. But I'm back now and I'm finally filming a video, so I'm actually really excited to film a video because I want to talk about some things today. This is going to be like a little chit chat, advice, college advice. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's going to be like a little advice video for all my beautiful queens out there. Girl power, 100%. So first things first, being alone. Guys, it is not as bad as you think it is. It's not as bad. But maybe that's because I'm an introvert. I like being alone. I like my me time. Like, I'm okay being by myself. But there have been points, especially within these last like 3 years of my life, 3 years being in college, where I have experienced loneliness. And loneliness can, I guess, make you stay in situations that maybe you shouldn't be in because you're afraid to be alone. But we're gonna get into that. As from my standpoint, when I talk about being alone, I'm gonna be coming from not being in a relationship, being single. But let's talk about it. So coming from me, like, I have been in my own past relationships with people, so I know what it's like to be in a relationship, and then I know what it's like to be single. My advice on being alone, being single, is take that time to really focus on yourself. Learn yourself. Like, you are so powerful. I need you to understand how powerful you are and how beautiful and how strong and how vibrant, everything. Like, you are it. You are it, okay? And I need you to work on embracing that, okay? Know that you're shit, okay? Know that you're what? Shit. Know that you're the shit, okay? Don't let nobody tell you different. Okay. I've stayed in situations that probably shouldn't have stayed in, all learning experiences, but I have put myself through things that I really didn't have to put myself through, but I stayed in situations, relationships, because I was afraid to be alone, because I was afraid to be by myself, because I'm like, well, who else is gonna love me? Like, they give me attention. It might be the bare minimum, but they're giving me something. I don't want to be by myself. I don't want to be the single friend. All those racing thoughts. Stop. I started loving myself the way that I want to be loved. I started treating myself the way I want other people to treat me. I started doing things that made me happy because I wanted to do it. I did it for myself. And there's a lot of power in that, you know? Buy yourself flowers. I would always say, I want you to buy me flowers. I want flowers. I want a guy to buy me flowers. Girl, if you don't go to Safeway and buy yourself some roses, some tulips, and you put them in your room, I would do that all the time. I started doing that because that's something I wanted to do for myself, and it made me happy. I learned, like I was saying, like, I've just learned so much about myself. You learn what you tolerate and what you don't tolerate, and that's just in the nature of dating in general. You learn what you like, you learn what you don't like. You learn a lot. There's a lot of learning that goes on in dating, in the dating process. I feel like what I just talked about also ties in with finding yourself and channeling your own self-worth. Girl. Okay. Finding your self-worth is a journey. It is a journey, and I feel like it's an ongoing journey. We're constantly changing, we're constantly evolving, and we're constantly growing. Like, we're just constantly, we're doing it. But I feel like when we go from talking about like being alone, being okay with being single, and being by yourself, also ties in with your self-worth. Loving yourself enough, having enough self-worth to be like, you know what, no, I'm not gonna let you treat me like crap. No, I'm not gonna let you treat me like the bare minimum. It takes a long time. There have been there have been times where I've allowed people to treat me not the best. I've allowed people to talk to me in certain ways. I allowed a lot. I allowed a lot of things to happen, and I've allowed a lot of people to treat me the way I don't want to be treated at all. And at that time, I wasn't really able to, I don't want to say stand up for myself, but I really wasn't able to be like, you know what, no. You're not about to talk to me like, you're not about to, no. We're not, no. I wasn't able to do that because, like I said before, I was so worried about being alone, being single. Oh my God, I can't do that. I have somebody. No. I was so worried about keeping just somebody around. I didn't have enough self-worth, and I didn't love myself enough to be like, you know what, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not putting up with it. See you next time. Bye-bye. It takes time, and I'm going to tell you, it took me a lot of time. It's taken me years to work on standing up for myself, standing up to people. It doesn't matter if it's in a relationship, friendships, just random people in general. It's taken me a while, but I can now finally say I've worked on loving myself enough, and I've worked on my self-worth and knowing that I'm worthy of so much, and knowing that I'm worthy of being treated the best and I deserve the best. That if you were to ask me a year ago, I just didn't have the same mindset that I have now a year ago, which is crazy to think about. Like, I turned 21 in a week, and it's just crazy to think about. Like, literally, like, sit down and think about who you were a year ago, the things you allowed a year ago, the things that you went through a year ago. Would you allow that stuff to happen now? I'm telling you, a lot can happen. Self-worth, self-love is a journey. It takes time. It's personal. It's intimate. It's you and you. Like, you and you in a room having a conversation. Like, sis, how are we gonna get through this? How am I gonna learn to love myself more? What do I have to do to get to that point where I want to be? My best advice is, you know yourself best. You know what works for you. You know what you can tolerate, and you know what you don't tolerate. Stick by it. Stand by it. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Guys, I feel like I don't even need the notes. F the notes. We don't need the notes. All that I'm really trying to say is I just want to empower women. Like, I just want you guys to look in the mirror and just remind yourself of who you are. You are that baddie. You are that woman. You are beautiful. Like, you gotta start believing it. I'm telling you, because this world will rip you apart. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was staying focused, and I feel like all of these things just tie into one. Staying focused in college can be really hard, just with everything. Like, you have your personal life, you have your school life, sports, extracurriculars, home life, like what's going on in your family. A lot of things can happen, and sometimes it's really hard to stay focused. But just like with the other things of like loving yourself and self-love, you have to set priorities. You have to make yourself your first priority. You have to make yourself your first priority. Do I have to say? You have to make yourself your first priority, because if you don't, everything's off. I'm telling you, when I was not putting myself first, when I was not making myself a priority, everything else in my life was just off. Like, things weren't going the way I wanted them to go. I was unhappy. I was sad. Girl, I was sad. You have to make yourself your first priority. If you make yourself your first priority, and you stick by it, and you prioritize the things that you need to accomplish, you will be fine. But you just have to stick with it, and you have to remind yourself why you're here, what you're doing this for. I'm doing this for me. I am my first priority. Like, I'm not gonna let anything or anybody mess that up or get in the way. Like, in a good healthy way, not in like a narcissistic, I'm my first part, no, nothing like that, but like in a good, healthy way. You have to put yourself first. And that just comes with everything. I feel like everything that I've talked about, you have to put yourself first. Being single, that's fine. Or being in a relationship, that's fine. Put yourself first though, all the time. Loving yourself, put yourself first. Like, be kind to yourself. Support system. Having a support system is so important, especially just being like a young woman in general, but in college and just figuring yourself out. Having a support system is so important. And luckily, I've been grateful enough to have a support system. I have my sisters. I have 2 older sisters. They're a great support system. I love you guys. If you're watching this video, I love you. Friends. I have people in my circle who are solid and I can count on them, and I know that they'll listen to me and they give me the best advice and they're honest, and that's so important. To have honest, genuine friends who really care about you. Great support system. Have an older adult who you really look up to, whether it's your mother, or it could be, you know, a professor at your school or someone in the faculty, just someone who you really look up to and you guys connect and you're like, you know what, you're like my mentor, like I really look up to you. I have that. I do have people in my life, women who are very successful, and they just inspire me so much. And I feel like it's so important for us as young women to find that support system. So join groups, join clubs, join women leadership groups. Do what you can, because a lot happens in life, and us as women in general, we go through a lot. And I feel like it's really important to make sure that you have a solid support system. It's important to have a solid support system because they can help you through so much, and they can give you advice that maybe other people can't give you. So that's really important. So if you have a support system, use them. Talk to them. If you have older women in your life who you really look up to, sit down, have a conversation with them. Or you can't hear me anymore. Anyways, have a great day.